The desert wind carried the scent of rain that never came, whispering across the red horizon like a song too old to remember. Dust spiraled in the dying sunlight, painting the sky with hues of fire and sorrow. Ethan Cole rode slow that evening, his horse's hooves crunching softly against the dry earth. He wasn't just a cowboy, he was a man caught between duty and desire, between two hearts that beat for him beneath the same sky. And somewhere deep down, he already knew that no man could walk away from a choice like that without losing a piece of himself forever. He had met them, Naya and Tala, on a day that began with thunder and ended with a scar. He had been tracking cattle near the San Pedro River when a storm rolled in, fierce and untamed. His horse had spooked, thrown him hard against a rock, leaving him bleeding and half-conscious. That was when he saw her first, Naya, the older sister, her dark hair flying like the wind itself as she knelt beside him. Her hands, gentle yet sure, pressed herbs against his wound while she whispered words in Apache he couldn't understand. When he opened his eyes hours later, it wasn't the sky he saw, it was her face, strong, wild, and unafraid. For 3 days, he lay in their camp. Tala, younger by 2 years, laughed more than she spoke, her joy like water in the desert. She would tease him, calling him, White Thunder, for how he'd fallen from his horse. Naya would hush her with a glance, but Ethan could see the affection in her eyes too. They lived simply, their people wandering the lands the government now claimed as theirs. He'd been raised to think of the Apache as enemies, but those days in their camp had shattered every tale he'd been told. By the time his ribs healed and his strength returned, Ethan didn't want to leave. But the world outside their canyon was pulling him back. Ranchers were marking borders with barbed wire, soldiers were building forts, and whispers of raids spread like wildfire. Ethan worked for a cattle boss who didn't care about love or loyalty, only land. The line between Apache land and ranch land was drawn in blood, and Ethan was trapped right on it. Still, he returned to the sisters whenever he could. He brought gifts, coffee beans, a comb, a turquoise pendant he'd traded for in Tucson. To Tala, he brought laughter, to Naya, he brought silence and understanding. Over time, what began as friendship grew into something neither could name. He saw it in the way Naya's eyes lingered when she thought he wasn't looking, and in the way Tala's voice softened when she spoke his name. 2 hearts, 1 man, and a horizon that promised no mercy. One night, under a blanket of stars, Ethan confessed what had been gnawing at his soul. "I can't stay here forever," he said. "If they find me, they'll say I'm a traitor. If I go back, they'll make me fight your people." Naya's gaze didn't waver. "Then don't fight," she said simply. "Find another way." Tala, who had been sitting beside the fire, looked between them with eyes that glimmered like embers. "You speak as if love could change the wind," she said. "It can't. The world doesn't bend for us, Ethan." Ethan reached for her hand, then hesitated. "Maybe it could, if we're strong enough." But the truth was, strength couldn't stop what was coming. Within weeks, soldiers came through the valley, and Ethan's ranch boss was among them. They said Apache warriors had raided a settlement to the north, burned homes, taken horses. Retaliation was swift. They rode hard through the canyon where Naya's tribe lived, rifles gleaming beneath the unforgiving sun. Ethan rode with them, his heart pounding not with pride but with dread. When the first shot rang out, he knew. The smoke, the screams, the chaos, it all blurred together. He saw women fleeing, children crying, and warriors fighting for a home already lost. He shouted for them to stop, to wait, but no one listened. And then he saw her, Tala, running toward him, her face streaked with ash. "Ethan," she cried, clutching his arm. "They've taken Naya." He froze. His world tilted. "Where?" "By the river." She tried to help the wounded. They thought she was one of the raiders. Ethan tore free from his horse, running toward the gunfire. The river glistened ahead, red and gold under the fading sun. 2 soldiers stood over Naya, rifles aimed. Without thinking, he threw himself between them, shouting her name. The world exploded in sound, shots fired, horses screaming, men shouting. When the dust settled, one soldier lay bleeding, the other fled, and Ethan was on his knees, cradling Naya in his arms. "Why?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "Because I couldn't lose you," he said. "Not you." But when he turned, Tala stood a few yards away, tears cutting down her dirt-streaked cheeks. "And me?" she asked. "Would you have done the same for me?" He couldn't answer. That silence stayed with him long after the fighting ended. The soldiers left, the ranch burned, and Ethan found himself branded a traitor by both sides. For days, he wandered the desert alone until he found the sisters again. The tribe had scattered, but Naya and Tala stayed behind to bury the dead. They didn't look at him with hate, but something had broken between them that words could never mend. That night, under a sky full of cold stars, Ethan tried to speak. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen," he said. "I never wanted to hurt either of you." Tala turned away. "You were never meant to choose between us," she said softly. "You were meant to walk your own path. But now our hearts are tied to yours, and the world will not forgive it." Naya looked at him then, her face calm but her eyes endless with sorrow. "Love is not a thing you take, Ethan. It's a thing you give, and sometimes, giving means letting go." He wanted to tell her she was wrong. That he could build a life for them, that they could escape somewhere far from war and hate. But he knew it was a dream. The frontier had no mercy for a love like theirs. The next morning, he woke to find their camp empty. Only a turquoise pendant remained, lying on the blanket beside him. He closed his hand around it and felt the world shift beneath his fingers. From that day, Ethan became a wanderer, moving from town to town, never staying long enough to be known. Some said they saw him years later near the Rio Grande, tending horses for a family that never asked questions. Others said he joined a wagon train heading west, chasing a horizon that could never be reached. But the story didn't end there. Years later, as the railroad carved through the desert and towns rose where canyons once whispered, a stranger arrived in Tucson, a woman with eyes the color of rain clouds and hair like the night sky. She spoke little, traded woven blankets for food, and asked if anyone knew a man named Ethan Cole. Most turned her away, but an old blacksmith remembered. "There was a cowboy once," he said. "Left years ago, headed north, said he was looking for forgiveness." The woman nodded, thanked him, and rode away. Days later, Ethan found her outside a small church near the river. He didn't recognize her at first, not until she spoke his name. "Ethan," she said softly. "You've been running too long." It was Tala, older now, her laughter gone but her spirit still fierce. She told him Naya had passed the winter before, sickness taking her after years of caring for their people in hiding. Before she died, she had made Tala promise to find Ethan, to tell him she forgave him. She said love was never wrong, Tala whispered. Only the world was. Ethan's knees gave out, the weight of years breaking through his chest. He wept, not just for Naya, but for the dream they'd once shared, a dream of peace, of belonging, of love that could survive the border between two worlds. Tala placed something in his hand, the turquoise pendant he'd once given Naya. "She said you'd understand," she murmured. He closed his hand around it, feeling its warmth even after so many years. "I do," he said. For a moment, the world was still. Then Tala smiled through her tears. "There's land to the west," she said. "Untamed, untouched. Maybe that's where our people and yours can begin again." He nodded. "Then let's ride." They left together that evening, two silhouettes against a blood-red sky. The desert stretched endless before them, but for the first time, Ethan didn't see emptiness, he saw hope. They rode until the stars came out, until the wind grew soft and the horizon melted into night. No one knows what became of them after that. Some say they built a small ranch where Apache and settlers lived side by side. Others say they vanished into the mountains, choosing a life beyond history's reach. But the legend lived on, a cowboy who had loved two sisters, who had fought his own kind to save them, and who had finally found peace not by choosing one heart over the other, but by honoring both beneath the same sky. And sometimes, when the desert wind carries the scent of rain, those who listen closely swear they can hear a voice whisper through the canyon, soft, gentle, eternal. Between two hearts, and one horizon.